Alright, let's make this video. This is my first video ever made. So, on YouTube, if I can actually do this correctly. I wanted to talk about how to grow mushrooms. I got interested about a couple months ago and failed a lot, so I figured I'd make a video for the basics here. So first you want to order your syringe. This is a liquid syringe. You can also do a spore syringe, or a liquid culture, excuse me. You can also do a spore syringe. You can use SporeWorks Premium Spores, Amazon, Etsy. Whatever's cheapest is what I go for. I don't think I've had too many problems. Just agar dishes, I had some problems with that. Contaminated, but that's normal. So then once you get, this is Phoenix oyster. So once you pick out your strain, what you want to grow, I would do the research on the actual strain because some strains are extremely hard to cultivate to fruit, like morel mushrooms, for instance. When I eventually want to grow them, but that's a whole different topic. All right, so we have our spores, and now I have everything next to me. Sorry if I'm monotone. Everyone says that, but you know, what can you do? All right, so what was my first purchase? Okay, here we go. So I went to nuts.com and I got Rye Berries. Buying in bulk is what you want to do, really, unless you want to grow just a couple little mushrooms. But yeah, they're just little berries. Let's see if you can see. These are actually larger. I used to use what did I used to use? Millet. The only millet they had at the farm store was way too small and just got everywhere and was just a complete disaster and a huge mess. So then I went to Rye Berries, looked that up. By far the easiest for me. I'm not nervous, I just sweat profusely. And then what you want to do is you want to buy the jars at Walmart, about this size. Then you cut a hole in the top so the mushrooms can breathe. They actually breathe oxygen and they expel CO2, which I didn't know for a long time, which is really cool for me. So yeah, just a little thing, and then you put cotton ball in between, because contaminations are your worst enemy. Sterilization is like key for mushrooms. Let's see. So you buy your jar, you got your syringe. Then I bought one of these bad boys. It's just a gigantic pot. And then I put the rye berries in there with water. It doesn't really matter the ratio too much. Just have the water, over the berries boiling. And you want to get them totally full of water. So totally, I don't think impregnated is the word, but totally full of water. So when you pinch them, they kind of just like explode in your hand. If you do too much, they'll already explode. Like they'll start exploding. It's okay if they start exploding, but that's when you definitely want to take them out before they all pop. Because then it's kind of gross and harder to control or manipulate. So you boiled your rye berries. They're nice and big and fluffy. Then you take them out and you let them sit. Also, I forgot to tell you, I normally let them soak in boiling water. So boil water, put how much rye berries I need in a bucket like this. Super cheap, Lowe's. Do it right. I didn't used to do this in the beginning. It's an extra step. You don't have to do it, but I think it makes sense. You let it sit so like all the bacteria and all the crap that you don't want kind of comes out into the water. You kind of tract it out, and then you boil it the next day. So you would rye berries, dump boiling water, shut it, don't shake it, 24 hours, and then when you're about to open it, shake it, then put it in the big pot and boil it until it's nice and fat, but don't explode. and then you got to let it cool because it's going to be super hot. So I just put tinfoil out, spread all the rye berries, wherever. You're not really worried about contamination right now because the next step is to get rid of contamination. You're just trying to get all the berries full of water for the mushrooms to have because they're like 93%, 93% water. Love water. Really like it. Most of their composition. So once you do that, you're going to. I try to do it without a pressure cooker. I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it until you get a pressure cooker. You're just going to be sad all the time because it takes a good while for these mushrooms to develop because they have a bunch of stages, which is important to know, which I can go over after I go over the whole process. Just some fun facts. Okay, so I bought this pressure cooker. They can get ridiculously expensive. Close. This one wasn't. It's at Walmart. It doesn't have a gauge for pressure measurement, but basically my rule is I put it in the jars to about this amount, so like 75%, and then you put a tin foil over the tops. I can usually fit 4 in here. You fill up the water to about like here, like half, like a little less than half. What is that? I don't know what ounces that is. Whatever. Then I put it on high heat until first the steam will come out this hole, then that will lock, and then you'll see this kind of making some noise, jiggling, and then you pull it up, and once the steam starts coming out, then I move it and put it at about 4 heat for 2.5 hours. And I haven't had any contaminations really doing that process, unless I do some outside of the box stuff when I'm just messing around because I have a lot of stuff now that I've gotten kind of used to what's going on. All right, so now you're going to take those out and just let them cool off. Takes a while. It takes like a day and a half to cool. You can take off the tin foil, and then you are ready to inoculate your jar when it's cool. So sanitize your area. I don't have what are they called? Oh, okay. We'll just say what I have. I have alcohol, like hand sanitizer. I try to wear a mask just so all the stuff in my breath and all that. Wash everything down with the hand sanitizer. Wash my hands. Put the jar where I cleaned or sterilized, and then open the jar. Put the liquid culture or spore syringe in and inject however much you want. I usually do like a whole syringe. I probably do like 4 jars. And also make sure to shake it. You can see the stuff inside of it. So like if it's all sitting at the bottom, you want to shake it so one doesn't get all the good stuff. Then after that, you seal it and you label it. I would definitely label it because you think you're not going to forget, and then you have no idea what you're doing, especially if you have different species. So this is Namaco. I actually haven't put it in the substrate yet. So you'll wait. It'll start get fuzzy. Once it starts kind of getting fuzzy, you can shake it, mix it, and then eventually it'll look something like this. It can get way wider, but this is about where I think about putting it into the substrate. So basically what you're doing is you're giving it a great chance to get strong and a very nutritious environment. So it's going to get real strong and real like aggressive because it's like I'm killing it, Oh, you have to put these in the dark. Definitely do that. So don't keep them in the light. They don't need sunlight. They're not like plants like that. Sunlight is only, or light is only used to initiate fruiting. So you leave this in dark, it'll end up like this. And then what you want to do is make the substrate. And the substrate that I use is Coco Loco, Coco Coir. So cheap. And it's, I mean, I've used that so many times. And I'm still not out. And then I use vermiculite. So this is non-nutritious, and its main purpose is to hold water for the mushrooms. Coco Coir is somewhat nutritious, just enough for the fungus or mycelium to spread. You're basically tricking it into thinking, oh no, I don't have any more, like it's getting limited in nutrition. I need to spread my seed, and hopefully the seed will go somewhere and find a more nutritious area to take over. So where are we at? So for the substrate, I use a 50-50 mix of vermiculite and Coco Coir. So whatever you want to use, like just 50-50%. I have a gram scale that I use. They're super cheap, and I think I usually do 1,000, so 1 kilogram, 1,000 grams. I think I do 1,000 grams because the normal thing was 500 grams. So do that of both. Then you add water to it and mix it around until the substrate isn't leaking when you pick it up. When you squeeze it, the water will come out, but it's basically fully saturated, but it's not oversaturated. Because if it's oversaturated, you're going to have pooling water, and you don't want any pooling water. I use boiling water in there. Do the same process with the rye berries. A lot of people don't do this, and a lot of people get contaminants. But another step, I do the same thing with the rye berries. I pressure cook the substrate. So once I get the substrate, I put it in one of these, which are cheap. I thought about making them, but you really need to get this type of plastic, otherwise it won't last in the pressure cooker and it'll melt. This is for the substrate. So put in the substrate, and what you want to do is you want to put in basically half as much as the rye berries. So if you have like 4 jars of this, you want to match it in substrate. You can use less, but it's just going to take longer to grow, and sometimes it's not enough to actually take it all the way over, and you'll just be wasting time. So 50-50 is the way to go. And once you do that, before you mix them though, I personally 50-50 Coco Coir and vermiculite, put it in here, and then pressure cook it 2.5 hours, and just like the rye berries, then I let it cool in the fridge because it's going to be real hot. And then after that cools off, then you mix it really quickly with the mycelium that you have. So 4 jars in there, and then you wrap the top. You close it like this and wrap it with I use rubber band. And then you're going to label it again and put it in the closet for until it's ready, basically. I mean, it doesn't take that long. Just depends on how aggressive the mycelium is. But I have an example. Okay, so I made this one on purpose because it's everything you don't want. This is what the brick's going to look like. It's not going to look like the shape, okay? But everything inside here, I actually have a bunch of cool stuff that you don't want. So That yellow, by the way, is just, I'm actually not sure because it's dried now, but yellow kind of liquid is what the mushrooms excrete for they're the enzymes to break down the nutrition around it, so that's normal if you see that. But stuff like that, if you can see, it's going to be hard to see, but like, for instance, that's not good. Anything that's very differing from this right here, this is what you want, that white stuff. See all that white goodness? That's what you want. That green, this, sorry, it's backwards. Not what you want. That's definitely not what you want. And there's actually lipstick mold, which is rare. It's, you can't really tell, but that's pink. Doesn't look pink, but that's pink. And this is trike. Trike's probably, no, trike is definitely the most annoying thing and the most common. So, once you leave that and wait for the brick to form, you are going to be ready for fruiting. And once it looks like the good part all around it, and it'll be really solid, so it goes from like dirt, like a solid brick, then you're going to put it in your fruiting chamber. That's when I put LED lights on it, and I have everything up here. I bought a let's see, OHU mini greenhouse. It was $47. I just didn't want to do the spraying and the airing and like all that stuff, constantly worrying, you know, or forgetting, especially if you have multiple bricks. So I thought, why don't I just buy this like closet greenhouse? And so I bought the greenhouse, and then I got a fan, which is like a computer fan, I think, but I basically got a computer fan. Where is it? AC Infinity. And then I flipped it around so it sucks all the air out of the greenhouse. So I cut a hole in it, put the fan there, wrapped the controller in plastic so it doesn't, because there's so much humidity it might break. And then I have it on a timer twice a day for 30 minutes. So it flushes everything, all the CO2 out. And it sucks the oxygen from the bottom because I leave the bottom open and a fan in the room. And then humidity is fine. Yeah, I have nothing. I don't have to spray. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is change the water once it runs out. But you do need a humidifier that produces heat, because that was a mistake I made. Nothing was growing, and I'm like, what is going on? And I realized that my humidifier was cool mist, which was not allowing, it just was slowing growth. So I got a humidifier with a little bit of heat. It averages like 77 degrees Fahrenheit in there, which is fine. I mean, you could do higher. I think it's 83 to 72 is the range. Obviously, some mushrooms are different. But then you just wait for it to fruit. I mean, that's all I do. I also have the LEDs on timers, so 12 hours just like night and day. And then just opening it up and checking them. That end stage, so just a little fun stuff about mushrooms, because it made it easier for me. You're going to get, first you're going to inoculate. They are asexual and heterosexual, so they don't need a female. They don't need spores from other fungus. They can produce themselves if they need to. Obviously, they prefer genetic variants. So you got inoculation, spore germination, and then you got what called hyphal knots. They look like little fuzz balls, pretty much, like little balls of fuzz. And then you'll get primordia formation. Once you get primordial formation, did I say foundation? You're going to get real stoked, because you've done it, and you just have to wait. You'll at least have one mushroom, but usually one will peak, and then after a little bit of time, others will peak. And I mean, I could talk about this forever because I love mushrooms, but if you do have any questions, feel free to comment. This video is probably way too long. and I'm making it longer right now. So I might talk about cloning in a later video, but let's just see what even happens with this. Thanks.